very warm welcome to this special episode of Smart Money. It's a rather special one for us because it's our 100th episode of Personal Finance, and which is what makes it rather special for us. Thank you. Really, the one thing that is an ongoing feature as far as this show is concerned, and something that we try and do, is to try and keep it simple. Because as much as we understand it, I was just looking at some statistics. We're looking at a very traditional kind of investment pattern in a large chunk of our population. 80% of people still go the traditional route, and which is insurance and which is fixed deposits. You look at the penetration when it comes to equity markets, you look at mutual funds, a slightly safer route to get into the equity markets. It's very measured. It's a very small chunk yet. And still, in a major way, we're trying to address this population that is kind of trying to buy into mutual funds and the equity markets by saying that's where the growth is, that's where the money is. So I want to begin by asking you guys, how many of you have actually thought of financial planning in a serious kind of way? You're all young people, and we get a lot of young people asking us about retirement planning, something that we do on Smart Money as well. But how many of you have actually thought and done something when it comes to retirement planning? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah? Let me ask the lady over there. You've done it individually?
Yes.
But you've never gone to a financial planner?
No, I haven't.
Is there a reason?
Well, I am from the finance sector, so I
Right.
thought may as well
So
put
you know
my
what you're doing.
education to good use. Yeah.
Yes? A lot of times, do you also feel that, it stays within the family? You will have someone you know, and that's how you will go through your, investment planning.
Yeah, you feel more secure when you're going to somebody who you know rather than just, going to an office at Nariman Point and speaking to a random face.
That's right.
Yeah.
A random face is right. When it comes to financial planning, that trust factor, for some reason, is just not coming in, which is probably one of the reasons that we find it so difficult to go and open up. So let's just get into this trust factor. Gaurav, you've been in the business of financial planning and you've been doing it for several plans. Do you find that as a problem, as a challenge when it comes to getting more people into the fold in financial planning?
As you said, there is a trust factor. People don't straight away start trusting. Second is, so many times there's this misconception that I need to have wealth first and then go to a planner, which is actually a myth, because you need to, if you're not on your own equipped. Third is, many people don't approach planners till they are really in crisis, or unless they're going to be in transition, they don't approach. So these are a couple of reasons why they don't want to go to a planner or they don't approach planner. But over the number of years, I've seen the number of people approaching us, youngsters, people who are beginning their career, is increasing. So
it is increasing.
It is definitely increasing.
Yes. So, but the pace of it. Sumeet, you're a fairly new entrant in that space, comparatively. So then, what has been your experience so far?
Okay, I'm wearing two hats. I've also been from the financial services industry, being in mutual funds, and now being a financial planner myself. I think that the problem or the concern of trust lies in history. If you go back in history, the financial advisory community in India was not very well qualified, very well educated, and very well positioned. There were so-called agents who used to visit families with bags in hand, and they used to either be peddling a product like life insurance or a bond or a corporate fixed deposit, which people used to always look with doubt on. The so-called commission, brokerage, agent, these kind of words actually doesn't give you the sense of trust. What we lack in India is a financial doctor. Somebody, it's like a doctor whom you can go to and trust to and really do things about. I think that thing is changing.
In your opinion now, as far as this market is concerned, when it comes to mutual funds, etc., are you seeing more people coming into the fold?
I think when I see this hall packed, Friday evening, people not going for IPL and being here, I think we are serious about financial planning. That's the first thing. So people are realizing there's a need for financial planning. Especially, seeing this group here and the group of youngsters sitting here, I'm really pleased and delighted. We are really, in the right times, The
right times. But the one big challenge really is the clutter of information, the clutter of products really. In the same kind of space, if you compare mutual funds, and we've talked about this at length as well, where you'll find that, money is being put in the same kind of stocks. You look at one mutual fund and you look at another, there's very little to differentiate between these products, and yet there is so much hard selling that happens for each of these products. So how does one go through this kind of information and say, this is right for me? Because of so much happening around me, I'm not able to classify and say, this is right.
It is not only about financial services per se. Whenever we buy a very simple product as good as a mobile phone, each one of us, before we buy a cell phone, amount of time that we would invest on it, discuss with our friends, is enormous. People will go into endless discussion, Apple phone, iPhone, HTC, BlackBerry, Bold. On website there is a comparison. When we think of television, First we'll talk about the size, then we talk about the type, then we'll talk about where to place it. When it comes to a financial product, it's not only about information but amount of seriousness that people themselves give it to the products.
Right.
I think that's the issue. I think people need to be aware that this is one area where they need to give attention, and in fact more attention than the other products.
So then how does one tackle that? Have you felt that when it comes to planning in any kind of way for any of your goals, immediate, long term, do you face that as a challenge?
Let me tell you, when you feel that okay, you can do some amount of investment, you go to your father or somebody in the family, you feel okay, you're getting the same answers, you approach your chartered accountant who will tell you ways to beat tax.
Right.
Then you go to your bank who will put you on to a face who's your priority manager or whatever this thing is, who keeps changing. So today he'll advise, oh ma'am, State Bank of India mutual fund.
Right.
Tomorrow he's no longer there.
Correct.
So you're lost. Then you think, it's good, I know my PPF, I know my NSCs, let me go back and let me not venture forth. So that's a bigger dilemma facing a lot of us, because we just don't want to go shop something which has an information overload, but the information is quite useless, presented by people who change very frequently, so you lose your trust.
What are we going to say to a lady who is saying, you know, I am confused and there is no one I feel like trusting?
How do I go and tell somebody trust me? I mean, that's the
No, you can't.
right. So you can't. I mean, at some point of time, you will have to. I tell you the problem that more happens when people come to me. People don't know for what they want to save and invest. How many people sitting in this audience have a list of responsibilities and dreams for which they want to save and invest? They've made that list. A, B, C items, this much amount required after so many years. How many of y'all have that list? Written down list, 2. Right? So that's my first problem. Let me tell you my second problem. How many of y'all write family budget? Raise your hands.
Tracking expenses,
2.
daily expenses.
Okay, let me tell you the third problem. How many of y'all get health cover from your employer? Okay, how many of y'all have gone to your HR department and said, show me the kind of policy, the kind of cover that I'm entitled? Look at that.
Yeah, just about 3
I mean,
or
I tell
4.
you what, these are all the problems. I tell you one more problem. Is there anybody in the audience who writes down parallel bank passbook or maintains debits and credits? What about others? So it's your bank. So for others, it's their bank who's telling them
Correct.
how much money they have. They don't know.
Right.
Now, if you don't know your financial goals,
Yes.
if you don't know your family budget,
Right.
if you don't know how much money you're in bank,
Right.
if you don't know how much health cover if your employer is giving you, I mean, at some point of time, you need to do introspection with your own self. Because if you don't have that clarity,
So, yes, well,
And
this
I
is
mean,
getting
I-
tossed around, really. This is getting tossed around in the sense
and I
that...
can go on and on because I deal with these cases day in and day out. I mean, when a couple comes to my office, I give husband and wife a separate sheet of paper.
Different goals, huh?
Arguments.
Remarkably.
Arguments. Right?
Different expenses too.
Yes. This is not one part. People have bought mutual funds. When I ask them what schemes they are, now they may not remember back of their mind, but they don't know where statements are. Somebody came and sold me HDFC fund. Somebody came and sold me Reliance fund, UTI fund. I mean, I understand that you may not know the name, but at least somewhere you have that details. You don't have that details. You have moved 3 jobs. You have 3 bank accounts. तीनों में से ECS हो रहा है. Insurance policies lapse because you don't remember when you have to pay premium. I mean, unless these things are not there, no matter however good the planner is, will not be able to help you. Because you need to have clarity about yourself, money, administration. In last more than a decade, about 10-15 years, income, expense, assets, liabilities, all 4 have gone up. Now, unless you're not keeping track of this, you're going to have problem. So it's not the question of finding a planner, it's first finding yourself and then moving ahead.